You played multiple characters, as many of these many actors did on the show.
Yeah.
But most notably, you were Penny Northern, which is a huge plot line for the actual show.
Yeah.
How did this character come about? Had you had such a great experience, like when you were in Red Museum, and they decided to bring you back, or how did it come about?
I think that anybody up here that worked on X-Files got to know the producers because they were so hands-on. They were on set quite a bit. And I got to speak to them a few times during Red Museum, and we just hit it off. And they said to me, "Oh yeah, if something else comes up, would you come back on the show?" I said, 1,000,000%, of course I would. And when they started the storyline with the women, it just so happened that I knew all the women I was working with, and it was like old home week to come onto the show, or with Corrine, and then it turned into this beautiful exit that I got to play with Gillian, and it was I don't know, it was a real gift. It was a gift, that role. I mean, I think Gillian is a special person anyway, and it was so funny. We spell our names the same way, so it was always Gillian A and Gillian B on set, and I don't know, they just made us feel, well, they made me feel special. Obviously, Gillian was the star, but just being on set with her was a real treat because she's so generous. So yeah, it was great.
So as you were talking about, you've played multiple characters. Do you have a favorite memory of playing Penny?
Well, I think that death scene was amazing. I mean, the producers were on set that day, and Gillian and I we hunkered down and sort of hung out all day, just so that we could have that closeness of both, of me being with her in the hospital bed, or beside her, excuse me, not in the bed with her, but beside her on the bed. But the set was super quiet. There were only a few of us on set, and it was just one of those experiences that you don't always get when you're normally surrounded by 50 people plus extras. And it was quiet and beautiful. And yeah, I'll just never forget the calm and the peace that we had on set that day, which was necessary, I think, for shooting it. But
how do you prepare? I've seen many emotional scenes, and some I've even had to leave for, because when an actor gets into that spot, it's so real, you know, in the moment. How did you prepare? You and Gillian, you said you two were together all day. Like, how do you get yourself into that mindset? That's so, you know, it's a horrible sadness.
I mean, funnily enough, she talked about her child, and I talked about my kids. That's where we connected, was in talking about family. Also, my father was very sick at that time, and he actually had cancer. So for me, it was putting what I saw on the weekends when I would go home, it was putting that into my body and just living it. We didn't talk about having lost people, but I'm sure that we had both lost people to that awful disease. And but for me, I was definitely channeling what I was seeing my father go through. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, since you played so many characters, so many roles, so much time spent on the X-Files, do you have a favorite behind the scenes memory that you might share with us?
Now the producer's gonna be mad at me. So yeah, I do. In Red Museum, there was a peeping Tom, right? And I had just not prepared for that scene. I just kind of came up, surprised me that morning when I just wasn't thinking. I think I was doing a play at the same time. So I was doing a play at night and shooting in the daytime. So I was pretty exhausted. But so I got on set and was talking to the director, and he went, "Oh yeah, we got this peeping Tom scene. So do you want to get out of the shower? Do you want to?" I went, "What? Oh, no. What do you need to see?" And they said, "Oh, I don't know, it's bra, top, I don't know." I went, "Listen, you know what? I've just had a child, so I'm not at my sexiest." So I went to the costume department and I said, listen, I'm really not very comfortable with this. Would you give me the ugliest granny bra that you have? And I'm going to put it on. So I put it on and I went to set and I went, okay, well, that's what you're going to get. And so he said, yeah, can you take off your shirt? I went, yeah, sure. And I took off the shirt. He went, oh, okay, well, put your shirt back on. I went, okay. So I kind of got out of doing anything other than having my shirt open with the bra showing, because I really, yeah. I did ask for the ugliest bra they had and they gave it to me. So there you go.
This isn't the question I had down, but did you prefer working like on an episode like Red Museum, which was one of the standalones, or did you prefer like the Memento Mori arc where you were really ingrained into the actual mythology of the show?
Well, yeah, I mean, I loved carrying the character over, multiple episodes, because it's like putting on a pair of really comfortable socks when you come back to set. It feels, you feel at home. And while doing the one-offs are fantastic, and I had a lot to do in Red Museum, but it was cold in that barn, and it was cold in the fields. So it wasn't as enjoyable, I guess, as to my senses, as doing the multiple episodes, because I was indoors, I was in a house, I felt comfortable. Even in the hospital, it felt homey, because I guess I was spending a lot of time in the hospital in my real life too. So I felt more at home.
This particular set was always very welcoming, crew and everything.
Always. And yeah, you get to know the crew because you work with them on different things, when they're on their off season. So yeah, it was definitely felt, okay, here's another word I might get in trouble for saying, but Canadian. Everybody was friendly, and I knew the producers already. I'd worked with David and Gillian before, so it wasn't sort of, oh, and this is Gillian Barber. I didn't have to be introduced in that way. So I think there's this great sense of belonging, I think, in a way, when you return to a series. And I didn't know David that well because we didn't have that much. I think I had a scene with him in the very first season that I did, but I didn't have that much to do with him. So I mostly worked with Gillian. So it was like greeting an old friend. And as I said, she was very generous, always was. And the other thing, I felt that it wasn't just about money. It wasn't about getting this shot so we can get our day. And, it wasn't about that. I didn't feel rushed ever on that set. So I think I felt that they knew what they were doing. They felt they knew what they were doing. They trusted the actors that were coming on set. So that's why it was pleasurable, as there was no, grumpiness or money going on ever that I saw.
So the X-Files aired about 27 years ago. And we want to know, why do you think people keep revisiting the show? Why do you think the fans are so committed after all this time? And even with the reboot, there's a whole new audience. Is there something about the show that you think really stands out for everyone?
I think they were invested in both Gillian's and David's stories. I think what was different about this sort of sci-fi series was that there was always humans at the center of it, and Gillian and David's stories were always kind of coming in, his sister and her dad and all of the other things that happened during it. There was a sense that it wasn't just FBI, it wasn't just murders and aliens and all of those kinds of things. There was always a heart at the center of it. And I think if you look at what's going on, what's being shown today, that same thing applies. Is the series that people grasp onto are the ones that show the humans in the job, not the job in the humans. I don't know, that's what I felt.
If you could say something to the fans of the show over the last 27 years, what would it be?
Oh boy, that's a big one. I don't know. I still get letters every once in a while with cards in them, or asking for an autograph or whatever. It makes you feel, I don't know what the word is, because actors don't necessarily do this for accolades. Certainly not TV. It's a different it's a different medium than theater, which I also do. And then you get the payoff every night with the applause. But in TV, it seems a little less relationship based, and you do it and it's in celluloid and it lasts for how long. But to the fans, I don't know, beyond thank you for continuing to make me feel a part of the X-Files community, and for honoring the work that I did then, and consequently looking at the work I'm doing now, which is so that it's so gratifying and heartwarming to feel that people are following what you do. I don't know. Keep being a fan. Keep getting to know the people that you see up on the television, because we're just humans, and if you write me, I'm going to write you back. So I don't know. Beyond thank you, I'm not. I don't really have that much else to say, but thank you.